I finally sent her that message. It took everything in me, every ounce of courage, every sleepless night filled with drafts I'd never send, every half-written sentence I deleted before even finishing. My hands trembled as I hit send, like they were trying to stop me even at the last second. But I did it. I sent her the message that held everything I'd been holding back for years. Everything I could never say out loud. Everything I thought I had buried deep enough to forget. I told her I still think about her, every single day. That no matter how many seasons pass, no matter how many people try to pull me out of this quiet ache, her name still lives on the walls of my heart. I told her about the songs I can't listen to anymore, the places I avoid because they echo with her laughter, and the way the world looks dull without the light she used to bring. I admitted the truth. I never really moved on. I just learned how to walk with the pain. I told her I was sorry. Sorry for not fighting harder, for letting fear choke my words when she needed to hear them most. Sorry for pretending I was fine when I was anything but. I confessed to all the moments I could have called but didn't. All the nights I wanted to show up at her door and say, please, let's start over, but never did. I told her how I kept choosing pride over vulnerability, and how that choice still haunts me. I told her I remember everything. The way her eyes softened when she was half asleep. The sound of her voice humming nonsense when she thought no one was listening. The way she held her coffee with both hands like it was something sacred. I told her about the scent of her shampoo that clung to my hoodie for weeks after she left, and how I refused to wash it, hoping it would somehow bring her back. I told her she was my safest place, and I didn't realize it until she was gone. I told her I wasn't looking for anything now. Not a response. Not forgiveness. Just the chance to finally say it. To finally tell her that her absence changed me in ways I'm still trying to understand. That her love, even in its ending, shaped me into someone more real, more raw. I needed her to know that the silence we shared wasn't empty. It was full of the words we were too afraid to speak. I admitted that I used to hate her for walking away. That I blamed her for not trying harder, for not turning around to see if I was still standing there. But time has a way of softening even the sharpest pain, and now I see the truth. She did what she had to do. She chose herself. And maybe that was the bravest thing either of us ever did. I told her I still wonder if she ever thinks of me. If my name still stings when someone mentions it. If she ever scrolls through old photos, pausing for a beat too long on the ones where we looked happiest. I told her how sometimes I still dream of her, and when I wake, there's this split second where I forget she's gone, and then it hits me all over again. I told her about the nights I sit in my car, engine off, music low, trying to make sense of how love can feel so permanent and still vanish like smoke. I told her about the letters I never mailed, the poems I wrote and tore up, the prayers I whispered into my pillow asking for one more chance, just one. I needed her to know I tried to let her go, but some hearts refused to be emptied. I told her that even if our story ended, it mattered. That what we had was real, and I'll carry that truth with me for the rest of my life. That she taught me things no one else ever could, about love, about loss, about how fragile we all are underneath the armor. I told her that no matter where life takes us, part of me will always be waiting at the edge of that goodbye. I told her I still believe in her. That I hope she's happy, even if it's not with me. That I hope she's loved in the way she always deserved, that someone out there knows how to hold her heart without letting it slip through their fingers. I told her she deserves peace, even if mine was lost the moment she walked away. I told her that sending this message might break me, that after all this time, laying my heart bare might be the most terrifying thing I've ever done. But I couldn't carry the silence anymore. I needed to speak, to release the weight of everything I kept hidden behind smiles and, I'm fine. I needed her to know that I loved her. That I still do. And now that it's done, I sit here staring at my phone, the silence louder than ever. Maybe she'll never respond. Maybe she's moved so far on that my words are just echoes in a room she no longer enters. But even if I never hear from her again, at least now, finally, I've said what needed to be said. I sent her that message. And somehow, in all this breaking, I've never felt more free. And as the hours stretch on, I feel both heavy and weightless. It's strange, this feeling, like I've cut the last string tying me to a moment that's been replaying in my head for so long. For years, I held onto that memory of us like a lifeline, afraid that letting go would erase everything. But sending that message felt like opening a window in a room that's been sealed shut for too long. The air is rushing in, and with it, a quiet kind of ache that doesn't demand answers, just acceptance. I wonder if she read it the moment it arrived, or if it's still sitting there, unopened, like a whisper she's not ready to hear. I imagine her face as she sees my name pop up on her screen. Does her breath catch the way mine did when I wrote it? Or does she simply blink, close it, and move on? The truth is, I don't know. And that not knowing is its own kind of grief. But it's also proof that I no longer control the narrative. I released it, like a paper boat into a river, and now it floats wherever it needs to. In the silence that follows, I'm left with echoes, memories that come rushing back like they were waiting just outside the door. I remember her crying in the rain, how I didn't know what to do except hold her and hope that was enough. I remember her laughter in the middle of serious conversations, how she brought light into the darkest places of my mind. I remember the time we sat in my car for hours, saying nothing, and yet everything between us felt understood. Those are the moments I'll never forget. I think about how love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's in the quiet way someone remembers how you take your coffee. In the way they wait for you to come home without asking questions. In the way they make space for your silence, not just your words. She did all of that. She loved me in ways I didn't recognize until she wasn't there to do it anymore. That realization broke me more than the goodbye ever did. Now, the message is out there, and I can't take it back. I wouldn't even if I could. Because what I sent her wasn't a plea or a desperate attempt to reignite something lost. It was a truth. She may never respond. Maybe that's the way this story is meant to end, not with a second chance, but with a full heart and the bravery to speak when it mattered. Maybe this was never about getting her back, but about finding the version of myself that loved her so fiercely he forgot how to love himself. Maybe this message was my way of coming home to who I am beneath the loss. Still, there's a part of me that hopes she smiled when she read it. That her heart softened, even just a little. That somewhere deep inside her, something shifted, something remembered. Not out of obligation or regret, but out of recognition. Because even if we are strangers now, we weren't always. And that matters. It has to. I sit by the window now, watching the sun dip below the horizon, and I realize that healing doesn't always come in grand gestures. Sometimes it's just a quiet breath, a truth spoken aloud, a message finally sent. Sometimes it's in the waiting, in the knowing that you were finally brave enough to speak, even if no one answers. Because the point was never the reply, it was the release. And maybe, just maybe, one day she'll write back. Maybe it'll be months from now, or years. Maybe never. But whatever happens, I know this. I loved her enough to tell the truth. I loved her enough to let her go, not with silence, but with words that carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken yesterdays. And that, more than anything, makes me whole again. The hardest part now is not knowing what chapter we're on, if any. Was my message a footnote in her life, or did it cause the kind of pause that makes someone rethink everything? I'll probably never know. But even in that mystery, there's a strange kind of beauty. Because at least I finally honored the truth inside me. For so long I buried it under distractions, pretending it didn't matter. But love like that never truly dies, it just waits. Patient. Silent. Hoping for a moment like this to be seen. I find myself whispering her name into empty rooms, not out of longing, but out of habit. It's like a song I used to play on repeat, and even now, when the music has stopped, the melody lingers. I wonder if she ever says mine aloud. If she remembers the way my voice dropped when I was nervous, or the way I used to say her name like it was a prayer, delicate, reverent, terrified of being forgotten. I don't think we ever stop carrying the people we once loved. We just learn how to walk with the echo instead of the weight. A part of me replays different outcomes. What if I had sent the message a year earlier? What if I had never let her go in the first place? These what ifs swirl like smoke around my thoughts, seductive and suffocating all at once. But I've come to realize that longing for alternate endings only robs the present of its peace. We write the story we're ready for. And even if mine came late, at least I found the strength to write it at all. I think of the days ahead now, and how I'll wake up with a little more lightness. The truth is, we spend so much time trying to protect ourselves from pain that we end up building walls even love can't climb. But the moment I pressed send, those walls cracked. And through those cracks, something real came through. Not just love, but honesty, vulnerability, and the quiet kind of courage that doesn't need applause to be powerful. Sometimes, I reread the message, not to dwell, but to remind myself of how far I've come. It's like a timestamp of who I was in that moment, raw, honest, brave. And maybe she'll never know the trembling that came with every word. Maybe she'll never know how long I stared at the screen, waiting for something, anything. But I know. And that's enough. Because that version of me, the one who finally spoke, deserves to be remembered too. There's a peace that comes after the storm, a quiet that isn't empty but full. I'm learning how to live there now. In the aftermath. Not in the wreckage, but in the rebuilding. I don't know if I'll ever love someone the way I loved her, and maybe that's okay. Because not all loves are meant to be repeated. Some are meant to be remembered. Some are meant to show us who we are, even when the story ends before we're ready. And so I breathe. I let the silence come. I let the world move forward without her voice in it. And still, I love. Not in a desperate way, not in a clinging way, but in a way that honors the heart I gave in the message I finally sent. Because love doesn't always need to be returned to be real. Sometimes, it just needs to be spoken. And I spoke it. That will always be enough. And if by some twist of fate our souls ever cross paths again, on a quiet street, in a crowded cafe, or in the spaces between dreams, I hope she looks at me and knows. I hope she sees it in my eyes, the love that never left, the tenderness that time couldn't fade. I won't need to say a word. Because in that moment, I'll smile, not to rekindle what once was, but to honor it. To let her feel, even just for a heartbeat, that she was once deeply, endlessly, and beautifully loved. And that kind of love, the kind that survives silence and distance, is the kind that never